Well, walk on there. I don't know if you was gonna join in or not.
Yeah, I had stuff in the way. I was on the
I
way.
understand.
My daughter had messed with my entire setup back here. I don't know what she was doing. But I'm gonna have to beat her.
Hello, everybody. It's Grizzly from Lexington, Kentucky. Coast to coast, around the world. Do we have a guest for you tonight? Oh, my. Hurry up, grab a drink, grab a chair. You don't want to miss what's going to happen tonight. We've been waiting for this day for a while, and it's here. How you doing, Mr. Bobby?
Oh, pretty good. Wonder why you're not playing Tyler Childers being from Lexington, Kentucky.
So why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
Oh, same. Putting together a podcast series. Website of which is on my little avatar there, bobbydizzle.com. Cleaning up after my daughter who just messed up my studio, charging her iPod.
Yeah, I don't think your mic's working.
Oh, crap. Hold on. I'll probably pull it loose. Can you hear me?
I can hear a background of you, but I don't hear you in the mic.
Oh, yeah. You hear my...
There we go. Is that better?
Yeah, can you turn it up some?
I was using my headphone.
How about if I turn you up a little bit? Let me see if that works.
Yeah, it was using my headphone microphone.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm not sure what that was about. It took over.
You're real faded in the background still.
Make sure it's not coming off that.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Check.
There we go. Now
Yeah, I'm not sure what that was. It kept defaulting to my AirPods. I don't know what that was about.
It happens. So tell us a little about yourself, Bobby.
Oh, creating a little podcast series here. Got about 4 months worth of episodes in the bank. Not necessarily paranormal, but paranormal, history, cryptids, conspiracy. That's all kind of my favorite topic. I also do a little stand-up comedy, a little fitness, a little deer hunting, a little mountain climbing.
Nothing wrong with that.
Oh yeah, but I like talking Bigfoot, so that's how I ended up here. It seems to be I am drawn to the Bigfoot community, and I don't care if I become one day the Tom Cruise of Bigfoot community. I'll take that as it may, because I could talk about it. Look, I could literally talk about it all day long.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, one of my favorite.
I just got talked into doing another podcast with a friend of mine. It's called Grizzly and Sport Cat. And I think you're interviewing him tomorrow, Glenn Jackson.
Oh yeah, we talked a little bit today. Me and Glenn did.
Yeah. So he talked me into doing one off besides the paranormal. So no telling. It's going to be no bars hold. I could say that much. It's going to be very interesting. I could assure you.
I like the little tagline.
You never know what's going to come out of my mouth.
Was it para or normal?
Yes, that is correct.
I was laughing at that.
Yep. You know who came up with that, but that's fine with me. So how did you get involved in the Bigfoot world?
Oh, like I said, I just reached out. It's one of my favorite subjects, so I just started reaching out to anybody on the Bigfoot groups. And I've wanted to do something I'd like to talk about. I knew Bigfoot. I don't have like a specific topic, but I knew Bigfoot was something I love to discuss, and so I just started reaching out to people who had common interests.
Right.
And Bigfoot seems to be what's coming up as like a 60-40 majority of the guests I'm getting, which is okay with me.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct on that.
I don't hate it at all. I mean, I'm mixing it up a little bit, a little stand-up comedy, a little what have you, a little fitness. But when it comes to most of my shows now, like tomorrow, I've got your friend Karen Pedrosa on. Not tomorrow, but Thursday I do.
Mm-hmm.
She's not as into Bigfoot, which I'm okay with. I like the paranormal and the UFOs as well.
Well, and that's one thing that I like about our shows is that we mix it up a little bit. And Glenn and I have been talking about doing another podcast show before, and we've been putting it off. And one night I was taking my medication, because I've got hurt over the years working. And it's one of those moments where you shouldn't go online and start buying stuff. I did the same thing with setting up accounts. So lo and behold, the podcast is born. So we're just trying to get a date together the next 2 or 3 weeks to get it started. It'll be, I think, starting out on a Wednesday from 12 to 2. I'm not for sure, but we'll figure it out and announce it.
Well, the good news is with podcasting gear, it's not as expensive like it was 10 years ago.
No, you're right, but I still
$100 buys you a setup.
I still spent a fortune on mine, though. Unfortunately, there's one of those oh crap moments.
I can tell your board is legit.
That's what it is. Yeah, it's what it is.
When you did the modulation last week, I'm thinking he's got a better board than I do. Of course, I'm just running it through OBS over here.
Well, there's no telling what I've got to do.
Oh yeah, so I'm saying, man, you got high dollar one on the Amazon specials.
But anyways, I like to have fun too. So, you never know when like I said it's going to come out of my mouth. But during these shows, I try to keep it serious most of the time. Every once in a while, somebody will throw me a twist or something, and I will laugh. And you know how hard it is sometimes doing these shows where you got to keep a straight face.
I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna laugh regardless if it's funny. since I'm not like a specific. When people come on my show, I'm there. They're telling me a story. I'm a little kid.
No, I try to be respectful.
I'm
because
definitely
everybody has
respectful.
different encounters, and I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But there's been times where I've interviewed people. It's like, hello, did you just eat a bowl of mushrooms out there in the field or something? But you really can't count anybody's subject or anybody's encounters because, where do you draw the line in the sand? What is too far out there and what is not compared to what everybody's encountering? That's my problem.
I know good and well that a couple I've heard have been just two people covering for cheating on their wives.
Probably.
We saw we got abducted, honey. I don't know what happened.
8 hours was missing. I just showed up in the driveway in the car the next day. Yep.
They shoved this Jack Daniels bottle in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? Wearing my pants on backwards.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, you just never know. But you said you got into the Bigfoot world. I mean, how'd you get started?
I'm just reaching out to people who had had experiences, started talking to them on the mostly like, how we met on Facebook Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that, reaching out to groups. And
well,
the ones that had the most, like David Parker, he was one of my first ones. I've had about a half a dozen.
Well, I'll let you know how I pick mine to come on my show. I do a lot of background research. I look at what you do, how you do it, what style you do it, what format, what type of person you are. And there's a lot of factors, and I actually handpicked you. So just to let you know that you are special.
There must be a flaw in your system. You've
no
screwed up aggressively this time. It's better just take that L.
No, I'll take the L anytime. Hell to the Vikings. So, but have you ever been on boots on the ground and investigate or anything, or
not officially? I've messed around in the woods deer hunting and stuff. I've never even given that a try because I'm scared of the work. Because I've got like a theory or two about how to actually gain their trust just from listening to a couple stories.
Well, like I said, there's a process that I go through, and on my team, and when I say my team, I'm referring to my administration teams and moderators. I have police, state police, retired police, first responders, paramedics, psychics, mediums, and a few civilians. And lo and behold, I just added a preacher, a reverend that's been doing paranormal research since 1982. So we're wrapping that up to get him on board. So I use those resources a lot. And like I said, I do a lot of digging and stuff on the internet and so forth. But you know, you said you got into Bigfoot. I mean, was it the books? Was it the movies? I mean, what flipped the switch on you?
I wasn't. I read a ghost story. Oh, you know, I talked to you last week. I read a ghost story from a book fair. And I kind of liked it. It had a couple different cryptids in it, and the claw on the kids on their date had the claw, and they took off because the escaped criminal was going to murder him, and he had a claw hand. And they drove away and found it when they got home. There was that book that I got at a book fair, and there's always Discovery Channel specials and stuff on it. But one particular fella I met in a biology class at Northeast Community College in about 2001 or 2. I can't think of which one it was, but he's from Mentone, Alabama, and it's on Lookout Mountain by Little River Canyon. And he said he knew a preacher, and this kind of ignited it. He said he knew a preacher that saw a Bigfoot while he was deer hunting, and it walked under his tree stand. And I remember him talking about how the preacher told him that whoever created Harriet and Henderson's must have been an eyewitness because they got it real close.
Really?
And I remember talking to him that whole semester about this, and that kind of ignited it. I never was obsessed, but like anytime it came up, my ears immediately perked up.
Right.
So I say that's probably what made it. That's probably what sparked it modern day. Just that's one of the things I've always liked.
Interesting.
And I reached out to him when I started my podcast in 2019, and I could not get him to answer a question about that conversation we used to have. I don't know if it's something that he may have been just filling me full of crap, and he was lying to a kid because he was a little bit older than me. He had quit his job at a factory to become a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe he just doesn't want to seem like a crazy person because he is in fact a teacher still. So
you know, and that's one of the things that actually, I don't know if I just sent you or not. I was looking, is I took a lot of that into consideration when it comes to people worrying about stuff and what they think about them, and especially with people that work in the government and law enforcement and other high official places, is because people do and will look down on them. We know that for a true fact, and I know people can lose their jobs over it. So I did something one night. I couldn't sleep, and it was around 6 o'clock in the morning. Still couldn't sleep. 7 o'clock rolled around, and I was thinking that all this time that we did not have a tight-knit community when it comes to the Bigfoot and the cryptid or the paranormal community. And I also noticed that people did not share their information. When I'm meaning by information, I'm talking about their podcast, evidence, and other stuff, footprints cast, EVPs, howls, and growls. So I was trying to sit there, and unfortunately, it was one of those moments where, it was time for my meds. So I'm sitting there thinking. About 7:30, a light bulb went off. So I started a new group on Facebook. I just sent it to you. It's a link, and it says, share your evidence, podcast, EVPs, footprints, howls, and growls. That's what it's called. So that way, when you do your podcast, you can throw it out there too for everybody to listen to. And, if you got boots on the ground, you may want to share your techniques on how you plaster footprints, or what you do and do not do, and what's in your toolbox. For example, if I asked you, Bob, that every 2 inches in a footprint's actually a foot on a Bigfoot. Do you realize that?
That's a David Parkerism, isn't it?
That is correct. So he's the one that introduced me to that, and I've been preaching that ever since. And I have a lot of people like, well, yeah,
Say every 2 inches or every inch is a foot?
No, every 2 inches is a foot.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And I have people test the theory, and the people that doubt me, I tell them right then and there, take your socks and shoes off, go get a tape measure. And I'll be damned if you don't hear in the background that aluminum tape measure going clink, 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 clink. And they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So, just stuff that you don't know that you can share with people. You can't lead a horse to water to drink. Isn't that the old saying or something?
Yep. Lead a horse to water, can't make him drink.
Yeah, that's right. So, the only thing I did was put the tool out there and let people decide whether they want to share or not share. And so far, the last couple of weeks, it's been doing really good. It's been growing some. I can't make people go to it, but I don't understand why people don't share their evidence with each other. And, I know we got the flesh and blood groups. I know we got the spiritual groups. We got the portal groups. We got, and unfortunately, nobody is a expert in this field. I don't care how long you've been doing it. I don't care how many books you've read, what certificates you have, whatnot. Nobody is an expert, because everything we are doing is a theory, and we're basing those theories off either A, our encounters, or B, other people's encounters and witnesses that they had the encounters with. So,
I think it'd be impossible to be an expert in that.
Yeah. Scarborough Sasquatch Station says hello. Hello there. And you can have to check your guest out. Laugh out loud, huh? That's Jim Blanton. He's a pretty cool cat. But
I did put my newest episode on that group of yours.
Did you? Good.
Mm-hmm.
Good. I mean, I want people to do it. I want people to share. Last time I looked, I was 904 members or 904 groups deep on Facebook.
must get crowded.
Well, all that's not paranormal. I own 3 paranormals and probably 3 other ones that are challenge coins related or so forth, for police and, first responders and so forth, that we trade, buy and sell and auction. And then I'm a moderator or an admin for another 25, 26 groups. So, when it comes to my personal groups that I own and maintain, that's why I'm overstaffed with admins, is to make sure that that we don't have any negativity, bullying, no emojis of any kind. If you don't like it, scroll on. That's my theory. Every time we hear somebody post a picture, oh, here comes Blob Squad, Bigfoot. Well, they always ask me. Yeah, they always ask me, like, Grizzly, is that real, or is that video real? Is that photograph real? And my response is, number 1, I wasn't there. Number 2, I didn't take it. That's the way I leave it. So I don't know how you feel about it, but that's my reason. I
think as difficult as they are to get on video, that anything should be considered, to be honest.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And here's why. And I point this out in most of my podcast. You and I, Bobby, are standing out in the field, and we're looking in between these 2 big bushes. Now, the bush in the center is dark, but you and I know what we see in the center of that bush. You pull up your camera and take a picture, and we get home and blow it up on your computer, and we don't see jack. The only thing we see is a shadow. But you and I know that there was something in there that we saw with our own eyes, but because the sun, the way it was, and the camera lens, the way it, doesn't focus right or whatnot, it didn't capture it. So always, give the benefit of the doubt.
You'd have to be super, super technically prepared to get a good picture of one of these as quick as it happens.
Hell, most of the time that they're so much in shock, they don't even know if they're coming or going.
It's like seeing a ghost. That's what I don't think people realize. The thing is, seeing a ghost is the Sasquatch. You can't believe it. I don't know how I would feel if I saw one. I know how I feel if I saw a ghost, but I don't know how I feel if I saw a Sasquatch.
All right, so I'll tell you this, and just an announcement, ladies and gentlemen. I am a no-kill person. Okay, yes, I used to hunt, but when I was back in law enforcement, I used to tell my officers, dude, if I saw one on the side of the road, I'm running over some bitch. And they would just laugh. I'm like, would you really? I'm like, well, hell yeah. I'm going to prove it exists. Or we're out in the middle of the woods trying to chase somebody down with their ARs. And then, hey, man, if I see Sasquatch and I fire, you better just pay attention because I'm going to drop it. But as the years go by and everything, I look at people's encounters and hear testimony. What plays a big part and thought it was a Sasquatch and Dogman. That is correct. But you hear people's encounters and their face is so human, like an Indian. The skin is like leather and stuff, and and there's now certain laws in certain states that it's a capital murder charge, or even city and county ordinances are passing laws that you cannot harm Bigfoot in any shape, way, or form. So the government knows they exist. That's why they're putting it out there. We know they exist. Every time we do have a body, and no, I can't prove it, ladies and gentlemen, but Mount St. Helens, people saw helicopters carrying big, hairy things in nets away from the area that were supposedly dead.
Oh, really? I didn't know about that.
Yep. That is it's hearsay, so I can't prove it. And I noticed by saying that, Google has been scrubbing a lot of information. Have you noticed that?
I know Google does things like that. I don't know if it's intentional or not.
Well, sure I don't know either, but a lot of people are using that DuckDuckGo, and that's pretty much unfiltered.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really starting to check that out. But 99, the forest fires out west, 2 firemen were putting out fires, and they came across a body that was 3/4 of the way burned. It was still alive. They were tending to it medically, and next thing you know, the National Guard showed up, and they took the body and told them, "Hey, you was not here. We were not here. You did not see this. This wasn't here. Do you understand? Are we perfectly clear?" And they disappear. So then you look at Expedition Bigfoot. One of the last episodes that I've seen before the season was over is that older guy in the pickup truck. They come. Remember? Have you seen that series?
Yeah, you're mentioning that he came out of flip phone.
Yeah, where he had the pictures of the Sasquatch nest and everything. And his buddy sent it to him, and his buddy was, I don't know if it was a forestry or something to do with something.
Mm-hmm.
Don't quote me. I don't remember. And next thing you know, the government exercised their eminent domain and confiscates 3,000 acres plus of wildlife preserve and puts a 12-foot fence up with barbed wire sticking. It's always the opposite on the camera, out to keep people from coming in. So, I mean, people know about it. I had people on my show before that's been on their deathbed and that's been in the military and service, and they'll tell me stories, and it's just like, and you waited this long, and it's like, well, what can they do to me? They can't touch me now. Well, I guess you're right. So, people are seeing something out there. I had people that, thanks, ATT. Oh, what's that, Bo? I have people that's been in deer stands before, like you said, that Bigfoot come up and shook the hell out of the deer stand. Mm-hmm. Now I probably would have dropped dead and had a heart attack. Don't get me wrong, or something like that probably would have turned loose. I don't know. We're like people that watch sports games. Oh, I would have done this differently. I would have done this. Man, you was not there. I have guys. Yeah, I have guys that have had encounters, that has PTSD, that will not go hunting anymore, that will not go in the woods anymore. They refuse to. They have panic attacks when they get near a set of woods when they have to drive through them. And it's like, what do you think?
I think that it probably would give you PTSD. We got invited to go to Minnesota to sit in a tree stand all night in the known Sasquatch area. And like, would you do it or would you just have to do it? I said, I would probably have to do it. I wouldn't necessarily want to because of what he described, but he said at night it gets kind of evil feeling out there.
Yeah, that's I hear the same thing.
Said it's more than just because Sasquatch are kind of friendly, but kind of like a little menacing, just kind of playing with humans.
Mm-hmm.
But the other stuff comes through their portals at night.
Yeah, that's what I hear. But another thing I noticed too is who pisses them off before you get there or before you arrive or after you left or vice versa. And then you encounter them and they're mad and angry. So that's for sure. And got to bear with me with my glasses. Yes, I have PTSD from my dogman encounter. I actually do believe you. I don't know what I would do if I actually saw a dogman. You know, people have their own beliefs and where it comes from. You know, I want to think that they are released from the gates of hell to cause havoc on earth. I think the Land Between the Lakes actually happened. I think the hunter with the Land Between the Lakes actually happened. You know, there's been too many people that went down there to investigate, and unfortunately, nobody would talk to them, and they would shut up and walk away. The actual campsite where it happened at has moved. But there's been a few people that's found the older generation where they were around and they said it happened.
What was the Land Between the Lakes?
Oh, man, back in 1982. I think it was 1982.
That's in Kentucky, isn't it?
Yes. Right between Kentucky and Tennessee is where they had the dogman attack, killed those campers in the camper. They found the children up 20, 30 feet in the trees and everything. And it stirred up a bunch of stuff.
I've got a kayak that goes up there every 3 months. Just now.
They are real, but not cuddly forest friends like they said to be. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of people go down there, Land Between Lakes, man, and they say they hear stuff that just blows them away.
That's one of the kind of places that would be, you would think, be infested as wood as it is.
Yeah.
They don't need no more than 10 acres to go nuts. I mean, look at David Parker. He don't own hardly any land. And he's got a mess on his place.
Yeah, that's true. And another thing is I interviewed a guy, I want to say it's been a couple of weeks ago, roughly a couple of weeks ago, maybe a little longer. And he has fantastic images, like out of the National Geographic magazines, of these creatures of Sasquatch. And I'm like, why don't you share them? You know, because in my groups, you hit a button and you can post anonymously on there. Nobody knows who you are or whatnot. Mm-hmm. And he says, well, he said number two. He says, well, he said number one. I said number two. He said that no matter how good the photograph is, somebody's always going to make fun of you. And I told him about my groups and told him how we try to filter extra carefully not to have those happen in our groups. I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but we try our best to, enforce that. And then he talks about how he wants to move, and he just can't move because the clan of his family, that Sasquatch he has seen them have children and has seen the children grow up. And I'm like, what? I said, how long have you been there? He said, I've been over here for 25 years. He said, I want to move, but I can't. He says, I don't know if I sell my property, what's going to happen to them? And I was like, well, I'm thinking to myself, well, that's it's very thoughtful and considerate. Some people are very protective of them, but, they are not pets. No disgrace to anybody that, treats them or gifts them or feeds them at all. But then I asked him, why don't you post that stuff in groups so people can see?
And they say, well, Chris, I don't want people driving up and down my road. I don't want people camping out. And I sure the hell don't want no hunters when it's hunting season.
Well, you make a good point.
That's what would happen.
Yeah.
That's exactly what. Just like every movie you've ever seen. Campers and the National Guard.
Yeah.
As far as I could see.
Yeah. And then you have the Men in Black, which you don't really see as much anymore. That was back in the older days. Cool voice mimic. I like to have fun, you know. You never know where I'm going to go or lead to or say. So I'm just glad we're not filtered like the media is. But anyway,
That didn't scare me this time. That
I
last
had
time was
one
weird.
guy I did it on. He fell out of his chair. He was laughing so hard. I said, I didn't mean to get you laughing. I was just trying to get you involved in the conversation and, you know, change it up a little bit. But, you know, it's just, I don't know. It's, you know, people always encourage me to go Bigfoot hunting. When we say hunting, we're not talking about rifles and shotguns and 4-wheel drives. That's Hank Jr.'s Country Boy Can't Survive song. But, you know, we're talking boots on the ground and go out there investigating. And I told him, I said, if I ever do go out with you all, I said, you realize I have to use a cane to walk. So if we ever do have to run, I do feel sorry for the person that trips and falls. Because I'm getting out of there one way or another. That's for sure. But when you start talking about the dog man, and man, that's spooky.
That's another level there. That's like a demon beast or something like that.
I know. You know, another reason why I like to have the pasture. I interviewed a reverend. Excuse me, sorry, sir. And the reason why I like to have somebody in the biblical realm is to back up my sayings, because I don't know my books of the Bible, you know, like I should. Okay, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry for saying this, but I do believe, and I know as well as you know, there are books missing out of the Bible. Quite a few. Dogmans are not good for sure. I believe that. I think the Bible was put together for what we are supposed to know and what we are not supposed to know, but I still have faith. You know, I do not know why each ancient civilization got wiped off the face of the earth. Mayans, Aztecs, Egyptians, I have no idea why. Are we next? You know, is this something where they create and turn around and destroy and we start all over again? I don't know.
I think Mayas and Aztec were just Spanish diseases.
Well, I mean, that is a theory. I've been reading the book of Enoch. You know, I've talked about the book of Enoch, and to be truthful, I never wanted to sit down and actually read it. I see enough on TV, you know, from some of the shows where they talk about it. Is it scary? I think so.
Is that the one with the Nephilim?
Yep. It sure is, you know, and since you brought that up, you know, God said that he sent a third of his angels cast out of heaven. Now, I don't know if that was in Genesis, Jim Blanton. That's when you had to come into play since you got the background in it. But he didn't say he cast them to hell. You know, from my understanding, which I could be wrong, some became flesh and blood and mated with the humans on earth, and some stayed spiritual. I have no idea.
I mean, it's possible that angels could have meant anything not human, and between human and deity, and ETs could fit in that as well. Whatever they may be, they could be a derivative of such.
Well, they said that in Genesis, God said that he made creatures seen and unseen. So, and that tells me a lot. You know, we know more about the moon and the Mars than we do about the damn ocean and our Earth. That's what cracks me up.
There could be anything in there.
Hell, you got monsters that washes up all the times on beaches across the world. And what's the first thing they do? That kills me. The city government, county government gets a backhoe, digs a hole on the beach, and buries the damn thing. And I'm like, where's the flatbed truck? Where's the crane? Let's get this sucker back to the lab.
When was the last time that happened?
That's happened quite a bit. And look what fishermen catches in their nets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's unexplainable. So I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that the government covers up. I was planning on doing a big panel show about why can't we know these things? Like, why can't we know about Bigfoot? Why can't we know about aliens?
Because we cannot handle the truth.
I think I could. I don't know if the other 5 billion of us could.
Well,
I'd be kind of okay with it.
Appalachian Trail of Terror, the Watchers were sent to Mount Hermon to help man, but they came corrupted, meaning they watched female humans and lust over them. And I told you he's a good biblical reference. But no, that's
preacher there.
True. Yeah, not the one I was talking about. The spiritual one. He's another one that's got educated in that field, and for whatever reason he separated. So we'll leave it at that. So that was the sin that got them in trouble. Yep. But you talk about Bigfoot, you talk about Dogman, you talk about the Rake, you talk about
Skinwalker,
Cobbler. What's the other one? Goatman,
Skinwalker, Goatman,
Skinwalker. Yeah, and all. I mean, where do you draw the line in the sand? I mean, people are seeing stuff, and now you got that TV show. It's called Paranormal Caught on Camera.
I debunk a lot of those from my bed, though.
Huh?
I debunk a lot of those from my bed, just being a semi-avid outdoorsman growing up. I'm like, come on, y'all. That just comes. I'm not saying all of it's fake. I'm not going to be one of those guys, but a lot of that I can sit there and tell you stuff I've seen just growing up my house grew up in the woods.
Right. Now, I believe you. Yeah. But there's some stuff on there, man, you just cannot explain. Seen a pterodactyl fly over and a guy damn near wrecks his car trying to get out and films it. And
there's, how I thought about this today. I'm sorry to interrupt that thought though, but it just hit me. How all animals know how to swim? Like when you're chasing an animal through the woods, it can swim.
Right.
It can somehow make it through a creek bank that would kill a human if it jumped off.
Right.
I think that maybe Bigfoot's not intelligent life, even though they're more intelligent than us as far as their wiliness. And that goes for like big when we're talking about dogmen, skinwalkers, mess like that. What I think maybe like the interdimensional landscape, maybe they can bounce back and forth, and that's kind of their stomping grounds.
And that is a theory, and some people believe in that, and some people believe, oh my God, he brought up the portals and extra dimensionals, and
it makes
we don't believe in that stuff. And it's like you have to believe in something.
Portals make more sense than an ape we can't find, to be honest.
Well, and I can throw this at you. And Jim Blanton, I think you brought this up during your podcast. I think an elephant escaped from a circus back in the 20s or 30s, went in the woods. They used helicopters. They used whatever they had. They looked for a year or something, could never find it. And like a few years later, it just came out of the woods and went, roar! And it's like, how the hell could you hide an elephant in the woods? So
a lot of people don't know that's how my alma mater got its name.
Huh?
A lot of people, yeah, the Alabama elephants. That's how it happened.
We as humans won't want to survive Sasquatch. There's a stranger.
There's a stronger.
Or stronger. It's hard for me to read my laptop so far away, but it's really, and that's why I don't discount the different beliefs in different cryptids. I don't discount what some people believe what they are or are not, but telling your Facebook group, thank you all the admins and moderators out there, shout out, give you some love for letting me go live in your Facebook groups, but to be an SS and tell your group that to join my group you had to believe in this and this and this and this only, if not, you're not a member. Well, I'm having interviews with interviewees that have had encounters that says the opposite. So who's right and who's wrong?
Yeah, I got kicked out of BFRO for that.
Oh, I got kicked out of a group too. And I so bad want to mention your name in the moderators and admins.
Do it. Dox them. Can't hurt you.
I want to, but I don't.
Dox them.
You know, I had one. I tell you, the admin asked me, and let me make it neutral. They said they don't like people making money off YouTube. Well, Lord, well, I wish that was the case. I'd have another studio. I would have all kinds of stuff.
That's why I'm trying to get like a merch store.
Yeah,
Maybe once I get 1,000 subs, I can make a house payment.
Yeah, right. I mean, we do this on our own free time, and I've
never understood the adversity to people posting. If something's interesting, like my stuff, for example, I'd pick out these guests, and I think they're mildly interesting when I go back and look. But if you post it on a group, like no self promotion, I'm like, yo, but it's pretty good stuff. If I do say so myself.
Well, I agree. You know, and I have some groups that determine the definition of what you said totally differently than what we agree with. And some people do actually allow it. Sasquatch were built for the woods, and we have become dependent on technology, especially today's youth. Well, let me throw a curveball at you there. Who was that? Appalachian Tale of Terror? I had a guy on the other night, and he said, "You used to be a deer hunter, didn't you, Grizzly?" I'm like, "Yep, sure did. I was a deer slayer. Had a lot of jerky back then." How many times have you been sitting there and you look up and there's one standing right in front of you? Many a times. How I got there, I don't know.
Be right under you too.
You know, they just there. You know, I'm not saying they walked out of a portal or they jumped in and out of a dimension or anything like that, but you know, that's natural camouflage. And I'm talking leaves on the ground that crunches, that you can hear a squirrel run around on the ground and you think something's coming to you, but you can't hear the deer that's standing right in front of you until you see the white tail and all makes that noise and takes off running. So
they're really quiet. I don't know how they do it.
I don't either. And
seems like the bigger they are, the quieter they are too.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, and you have some people that say, "Well, how can a 9 or 10 foot gorilla?" It's not a gorilla. A Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever you want to call them, it's not a gorilla. Well, how can they survive out in the woods and you don't see them? Well, I tell you, I've got some people say that they see them running and they look like they're gliding, like their feet are not touching the ground. You know, that amazes me. You know, that's what I'm saying. Everybody's encounters are different, but most of them are the same. Most of them, you can break them down, I think, in probably about 4 or 5 different classifications. Don't ask them what they are, but that's what I've seen that I feel, because most of them are all the same. Do you not agree?
Yeah, they're all pretty much the same. You got, other than the more crazy ones that maybe people on pills, they all sort of fit the same little bill.
Well, and he says natural camouflage, and that's true. And I'll tell you this, you don't know this, but you know, taking psychology and stuff, we had to what do we call it? God, I'm glad my professor's not watching. We had to describe, we had to identify, define, and prescribe. I'm talking medication. And my problem with that is that, you know, not everybody that I know needs to be on medication. And I think some of the stuff that they are saying that they are actually seeing or hearing, because they have special abilities and gifts that nobody knows besides their great grandmother, that it actually skipped a generation and their mom or dad didn't have it. And there are some people out there, mental illness is a real disease. Yes, absolutely. And that's why I do not make fun of anybody or belittle anybody, because until you ask the right questions, you're not going to know. And I'm not saying come out and ask them if they're Looney Tunes, like cartoons or something like that. But there's specific questions you can ask, that are real soft and kind and not, heartbreaking, to see into their past and what they went through, lived with. If they were on medication and they're no longer taking it, that happens. But you can't discount everybody. I mean, I started a group. It's not an actual Facebook group, so I want to make sure everybody knows that. I started a chat group to where I have spoken with individuals on my podcast, and it's like, pow! I get hit with all this energy, and it's like, what in the world? And they just start talking, and I'm like, hold up, time out. I said, I'm sorry for interrupting you. And I was like, do you have special abilities that you do not know about? And they sit there and they look at me like I'm crazy. And I always go back to high school. I said, do you have problems with relationships in school? Yes, I have. It's always a yes. I said, because you never follow your intuition. And she's like, yes, or he, whatever. And then we get off subject and talk about, psychics and mediums and my mom has it, my grandmother had it, and now we're starting to break down the family tree, and you can see where it skipped generations and where it doesn't, and you can see where it doesn't skip generations. And these ladies and gentlemen that we're talking about, their kids are actually going through the same thing they grew up with when they were. And most of them tried suicide because they didn't know they were abnormal. They didn't fit in. They were called weirdos, not just because of the way they dress. Hell, my brother, if he's listening, he was gothing. He dressed like Marilyn Manson when I was growing up. I'm talking face and all, makeup and all. So, so I started that little cluster group to where some of my mediums and psychics can help them to develop what they have, A, to make sure they do have the ability, and 2, to develop what they have and expand on and to learn from it. So I kind of dilly-daddle with a little bit of everything.
Some of the medications are the real deal.
Huh?
Some of the medications make you see some real stuff. I had a grandparent that had it.
Yeah,
he said he was always seeing angels.
But the problem, though, is what happens if he was seeing angels?
I don't know. He would take a nap. He was kind of a farmer. He would take a nap every afternoon in his chair, and he'd always have a story to tell. Like, I don't know what you're on, man.
And you're right. And don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen, there are some people out there that need prescriptions. I agree with that. Now, like I said, mental illness is a real deal. Schizophrenia is a real deal. But, my problem was taking psychology. You just couldn't throw pills down somebody's throat or give them a script and say, okay, you'll be fine. And when they're kids are so pure that they actually do see dead children that they play with. And we call them imaginary friends. We all had them growing up. Some were real, some were not. We just act like we did. But, things actually happen to people in their lifetimes as they grow older. They notice things are different with them compared to other people, but they cannot understand it. So what I'm trying to say in a nutshell is I'm trying to bring those small group, the ones that I handpicked together to figure each other out and go from there. It's worth a try.
Hey, I had a past life regression done on my podcast, and she said I lived in a funeral home in Pennsylvania in the 1800s.
Oh, really?
And I always liked it when a child passed away because I'd play with them in the basement.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's a thing. Now I'm terrified. Well, left all the lights on that night.
we used to question for our clients for a paranormal team to determine if it's possible. Mental illness is determined if they are seeing or isn't mental health issues some people take offense to. Well, and they do. And, you know, and like I said, there is a soft way to encroach on that to not get them offensive. There really is. And usually when they tell you they stop taking their medicine, that's just a red flag for me. It doesn't say that they do have mental illness, you know, that can probably stir up things that's causing issues in their life. I believe people can bring bad karma to them from themselves. Do you believe in that?
Karma? Oh yeah, 100%.
Perhaps one angel encounter is different from another angel encounter, and that's true. I mean, I don't know how you want to shuffle that or cut it up or spit it back out, but it's the truth.
Oh yeah, that goes for about anything though.
Yeah, but Bobby, you know, all of our lives, we've been told what is real, what is not real, what exists, what does not exist. We have told what we heard, we did not hear, what we seen, we did not see. But we are.
I've always hated that too. There ain't no such thing. How do you know?
Right.
I heard it from my parents. I'm like, God, I never bought into it.
Red flag for me is to when they don't take their meds. Well, and I agree with that. And I said it is a red flag, which I do agree with you on that. I'm not disagreeing. But you have to take the time, and I don't want to say diagnose because I'm not a doctor or PhD or nurse practitioner or MD by any means. But you got to take time and listen to them, because the more you listen to what they are trying to tell you, the more you're going to learn about them and about their experiences of their own. Then you can determine yourself if you got one that you deemed, you know, that's not on their medication, it's causing problems, and then that's you. But I'm just saying, tread lightly on that subject, because people actually has committed suicide before because people have said the wrong things. And once again, they're different. They're going through different things. They feel like a piece of a woo-woo. Woo-woo brings up something else, but
woo.
Yeah.
That's the Osborne's I Want to Believe show there. I was talking about the woo-woo factor.
Yeah.
I like that show, even though Ozzy's stupid as the day is long.
It's all the drugs.
Oh, well, yeah. He probably used to be a good guy.
But
he said we have too many guns over here. Like, well, bye.
Yeah, go back to England.
Bye, Ozzy. Have fun with your no dental care.
You know, it's I don't know, man. No matter how you cut it, dice it, you look at it, everybody's got their own experience, like I said earlier. You know, I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
On their own experience? Yeah. The people I've interviewed have all told about the same story, which is David Parker and a couple other guys. And when one deviates from it, like, I'm like, well, how come everybody else has this, but you have that?
Mm-hmm.
Makes me wonder if there's not like a sect that just hangs out. As far as like elementals, not just Sasquatch.
Are there real men in black? Oh, absolutely.
I think there have to be, if in some permutation.
You know, now I'm not saying they wear black clothes like they used to back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. But I'll say this, and he's going to talk politics. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm okay with it.
But there's been people that have died. More people have died under the Clintons than any other administration that's been in Oval Office. And I'll leave it at that.
I remember when Bill Clinton said he was going to reveal the aliens too. Never did.
Yeah.
I think they backed him down from that.
I think a lot of people have Clintonism. And I'm sorry, I'm not, you know, picking on the Democrats or anything. Yes, I'm a true diehard Republican, so Like me. If you don't, you don't. That's fine. So what else? Is it true that there are real elements or elementals? Yes, I do believe in that.
I think there's a ton of them. I think Bigfoot's one of them. Or some.
And that is a theory. That is a theory.
Because you got the dog man, and we discussed it earlier. All those different ones, Thunderbird. And you got those little people in Alaska. I think they all traverse the same kind of. I used to think it was technology, but now it may be just be the landscape of the other dimension. It may just be how it works.
You just hit a topic of mine. So what about the Kentucky goblins?
Oh yeah, that'd be one of them.
Yeah, that really happened. They had the shotgun, the bullet hose in their cabins, and I mean, it happened for how long? A day or two? The little people, yes. You know, and that's my saying, is that you cannot believe in one and say the other doesn't exist. That's my point.
I think the fun part of it is thinking maybe it all exists in some fashion.
It has to. I mean, back in the old days, 16, 15, 1700s, they were drawing maps with monsters that were sinking ships. They were seeing mermaids. Oh, they were drunken, mate. That's the only thing they had on the ship was beer. Yeah, but you can only write so much of that off. And one of the questions that I have, and I don't remember the year, and I'm sorry, I need to write this stuff down so you all could validate what Grizzly is saying. But how did that one guy, somebody will know, either they will Google it real fast, map out Antarctica with no ice on it? And we're supposed to have 3.5 miles of thick of ice on that.
That Antarctica thing always weirded me out because anything could be there. There's no way for anybody to ever know.
Like the old world mapping showing monsters on the oceans, and that's what I'm talking about. It's what I'm talking about. You know, not too long ago, they didn't believe in giant squids until they start washing up on beaches and catch them in fishermen's nets, and they were freaking out. You know, the McCracklin, I think that was on Paranormal Caught on TV.
They had a Kraken on there?
I want to say they were in a sailboat race, and let's see, the stern is in the back, the bow or the bow's up front, right? Always get them backwards. You can tell I'm a sailor. But in the sailboats, they have a section, and I cannot do it by my hands in the camera. Let's say a box 3 feet by 3 feet squared. And down in there, you can see the water, and you can see the rudder where they can steer, you know, the sailboat. And something from the ocean that had suction cups attached it to the boat and through that hole and was dragging the boat backwards. And the 3 men were screaming, panicking. They took the oars. They were banging it, smashing it. One guy took out a pocket knife and was jabbing the hell out of it. And this went on for over an hour until it let go. And one of the suction cups, see if I get in the camera, was that big.
Ooh,
so
very late. I was looking up the story.
It's out there. I looked it up once on Google because somebody challenged me on it last month. And I think it was Paranormal Caught on Cameras, what the show was. And it wasn't fake. There was no way.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, to see them screaming, hollering, and panicking and smacking this thing with an oar and everything else. And ladies and gentlemen, there's things that are in that ocean that we do not know exist. What's that trench? What's the name of that trench down there?
The Maranatha Trench.
Yeah.
I could have said it. I wanted to call it San Andreas. That's not it. Mariana Trench.
Yeah, I think so. But, you know, there are sperm whales that have suction cups all over their bodies. And where are those from? Giant squids?
Yeah, I've seen those pictures before. It freaks me out.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's God-made creatures seen and unseen. We're discovering things that we thought had been extinct millions of years ago and they found in the ocean. They caught it up on beach or they caught it in a fisherman's net somehow. So I don't know.
Megalodon.
That's actually becoming popular again. There are people actually hunting those and trying to show that they exist. Now that would scare the hell out of me.
Yeah, those things are big as your room.
Yeah,
the mouth's big as your car hood, if not bigger.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's been proven by cave paintings that humans did walk along with dinosaurs, and that was shown on ancient civilizations or ancient extraterrestrials. What is it?
Ancient aliens?
Yeah, ancient aliens, where they found a cave painting of a dinosaur with ropes around its neck dragging one of the big blocks of the pyramids and other things in this cave. So that proved that man did walk along with the dinosaurs, which they said that never happened. And also brings me to the fact that all the giant skeletons that have been found since the 17th, 18th, and early 1900s, where do they all go? We know they existed because they would put them up, stand them up in a box, and they would stand right next to them, take pictures of them.
Oh yeah, the ones they did all the black and white photos with, like a death painting, like a death picture.
Yeah. Then you bring up David and Goliath. Then you bring up the Book of Giants. Then you bring up we walked among the giants. I mean, what is history so scared that they have to keep rewriting it? Look at the what was it, the Star Child they found back in the cave in some third world country. They couldn't explain that. That was a 3-foot human. It wasn't disfigured. They didn't put that into the gene pool and say, well, this is evolution. Now they're finding skulls and caves that never been, entered in. The skulls do not fit into our evolution of life that needs to be.
I always wonder what's so controversial about humans being with dinosaurs.
I don't know. I don't know.
Why, if they change that theory, what do they think it's going to happen? Is it the age of the Earth? Is it? It's always.
You brought up a good opinion right there. Everybody's got a different age of the Earth.
I kind of fall in the 4 billion years kind of thing, but
some of them say less than that. Some of them say more than that.
I just don't know what the end game is for keeping that. Like, why would they want us not? If humans did walk with dinosaurs, what's the big deal?
I couldn't tell you.
It's just some of those theories, like the Clovis and the Younger Dryas, stuff like that. The pre-Clovis people. Like, so what if science changes if they find new stuff?
Well, they say, Columbus didn't discover America. Ooh, that was a big thing.
Crashed into the Bahamas.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not that big a deal. I mean, that's what happened. That's what happened.
Well, when you start getting into the paranormal and the afterlife and stuff that we do not say exists, but they do, that's what makes me wonder.
I always wonder why they're trying to keep it from us. Almost get aliens, but I never got the other stuff.
Well, it's hard to say, but I'll bite my tongue on that one. I'll save it for later. But we are not the only ones that exist in this galaxy. There's no way in hell that is possible. There are too many solar systems that are like ours. There's too many suns that are like ours.
Billions.
And
in this
you're
galaxy
right.
alone.
I mean, you're right. And they were theorizing on, I can't remember, was it Ancient Aliens? They were theorizing that if they traveled at the speed of light, it would still take them over a couple hundred years to get to Earth. So that's why they are Einstein and other people. Bless his heart. What's that guy's name in the wheelchair?
Hawkins.
Thank you, Stephen Hawkins. Where the wormhole exists. And I remember in school in science where you draw a point on one end of the paper, draw a point at the other end of the paper, and you fold it, and that's time. That's how fast you can travel.
That's how wormholes work, they say.
Right. So, what is real and what is not real? Unfortunately, I can't tell you. You have to make your own conclusions on that.
All boils down to big oil. If we get wormholes, we can't buy oil anymore.
Yeah. Ancient crocodiles blasted out the Irish waters by German U-boat. Is that what that says?
Yeah. I didn't know Germany had U-boats in World War One.
Yeah, I think they the Confederates did.
Yeah, I just, as soon as I said that, I'm like, well, Confederates had it 50 years before that, so.
Yeah, so.
Old Ironsides.
Yeah. But,
wouldn't want to be in one of those.
Let's talk about World War I and World War II. Over 100 and let's say 20 years, we were in a horse and buggy. No electricity, nothing like that. Then, pow, look at today. I always say follow the money. And when I say that, I'm referring to the state parks, national parks, Yosemite, Yellowstone, Alaskan Triangle, missing 411, Appalachian Trail. Where does everybody go?
I think it has the cave overlay map too.
Yeah, and a lot of people's brought that up on my shows that you can overlay maps of the cave systems. On top of that, you can overlay Bigfoot sightings. On top of that, you can overlay dogman sightings. And I mean, how far down the rabbit hole do you actually want to go is the point. Now, I'm not saying all this is true, but how can people run up a trail on the Appalachian Trail jogging, and the woman turns the corner and everybody else turns the corner and she's gone? Nothing.
One of them alien abductions.
I mean,
she must have agreed to it in a past life.
Who knows?
I've heard that one before. That you signed the contract before you were born to be abducted and studied.
Who knows? Look what happened to the lumber yard that found that spotted owl that was endangered. Holy hell. They lost billions of dollars. They had to stop what they're doing. The government had to come in and take so many acres and call it a sanctuary to save the owl. Follow the money, folks.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing about the Bigfoot. It's got to be a factor in it, maybe not 100%, but the lumber industry doesn't want it to be found.
Can you imagine living life without paper, cardboard, paper plates, anything, packaging, tissue paper, Kleenexes? I mean, all that stuff. Yes, I know some of it's made with cotton. Don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm trying to prove a point here. Look what it would do to our furniture. Look what it would do to the housing industry. The frames. Yes, I know they're building houses out of junk now, out of recycled material. And there's a reason why they're doing that. I mean, people, do you realize that we're taking trillions and trillions of pounds of garbage and taking it way out in the ocean and just dumping it? Never did understand that.
Yeah, what doesn't get dumped, it gets washed out there.
Yep, it does. We're actually, creating our own pollution. And some people that are in contact with aliens have informed me that the aliens have stated that we are killing ourselves and destroying our own world, and they want to intervene. Well, let's go back to the technology, Bobby. 1954, Eisenhower signed a treaty, allegedly, in a hangar with aliens. Then all of a sudden, we have a technology boom. You know? Go figure, the first calculator was the size of a government floor building. A calculator. Now you buy them that's smaller than the size of your hand.
On a watch.
Yeah. Don't crack on that. I had one of those when I was growing
wristwatch. Oh, yeah. I think everybody did.
That was the style back then. But, where did all this technology come from? And, I had one friend that I went to school with, and he said, well, the reason why we have technology as of today is because we have communication, and we can communicate from one end to the earth to another, or one end to the country to another. But that still doesn't explain why we have what we have now and how it works, when we both know the military has technology it's 30 to 50 years advanced than what we're having and using right now. Now, that's just mind-blowing. They said Hitler never had a flying saucer, and they made fun of that for years and years. And all of a sudden, what was it, less than 8 years ago, they found footage of a SS saucer flying over a building.
Hadn't been long.
Yeah, and they can't find the saucer. They can't find the technology that Hitler was working on. Well, we stole their scientist. A lot of people, proclaim or claim. So
they definitely did. I worked down the road from a building named after one.
So I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, it's what rabbit hole you want to go down through and which rabbit hole you want to come up and go back down and travel through. I mean, it's endless.
You can go for days. Probably all halfway connected too.
Yep. And if we knew half as much as certain people in the government actually knows, even the president demanded. Barack Obama, he demanded.
Bill Clinton
demanded. Trump demanded. And they all told them it's classified.
Yeah, I think they get taken in the back room and show that Bill Hicks footage of the other angle of the Kennedy assassination nobody's ever seen.
Probably.
I think that's when they get in line and like, look, dude, you're a puppet. Nothing what you do really matters.
We're not going to talk politics because, man, once I get rolling, I won't be able to stop.
Well, I'm talking about like any president.
I'm talking about puppets.
Nothing what the presidents do matters. They're just a mascot.
That's all they are anymore.
I mean, when's the last time a president did a whole lot? I mean, yeah, Trump helped defense and knocked out some regulations, but he didn't do that much.
Well, I tell you, the president, since we're on the topic, that said this, and somebody will know who it is. What if we encountered as a world an alien threat that would make us all unite as one and forget our differences? Now, it's not word for word, so.
It's close.
Yeah. That was Ronald Reagan.
Yep, the Gipper.
Mm-hmm. He let a lot of stuff out. He was in the Star Wars program.
Well, Project Bluebeam worries me.
Huh?
Project Bluebeam worries me because they could probably do it pretty easy.
No, they probably could. I mean, they actually got photos that they have released of a flying saucer, or let me rephrase that, UFO, coming into our atmosphere, and all of a sudden something is shot up to it to hit it, and it moves before it gets hit. President Reagan was working on the Star Wars program. Is it still going? Hell, we don't know. They got so much private funding in the government and stuff. It's just unbelievable. Where the money goes, it's untraceable. But there's a whole nother world that is out there that we do not know about. Eisenhower's granddaughter last year came forward and said, my grandfather did sign the treaty with the aliens. And people theorize, what was signed. And that's why we had the missing people. That's why we had the people that are impregnated. and they go to the doctors, they're pregnant. Then before term, they go back and the baby's gone. You know, no explanation at all.
You never hear the story of the great whites anymore.
I
Or
think
the large-
because they're covering
large
it up
whites.
with some other stuff.
You know what I'm talking about? They look
Yeah.
like Vikings. I think. Is that
Yeah.
right? And there
I
was like
think
one
so.
that was like a horse of range 57.
Yeah.
That one, they kind of brushed that like, oh, they discredited that guy real quick.
Well, look at Bob Lazar.
That Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar is telling the truth.
They try to wipe him off the face of the earth. The only thing he had was that paycheck stub. How he had that, I couldn't tell you. And they try to discredit him, threaten him, and everything else. And for the longest time, he did disappear.
When he came back on Rogan, that's when he came back into the spotlight.
Yeah. And now you're having other people that are at an elderly age coming forward and saying, this is what we worked on that, you know, that we were told we couldn't talk about. We were reverse engineering the flying saucers and the technology. Technology, once again, like we're using today, that's probably so outdated. You know, I mean, the laptop I'm using, man, I probably spent, I don't know, $1,800-$1,900 on it, probably 7 or 8 years ago, and it's already outdated.
I know that mine probably is. Of course, it's only 3 years old.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you just can't keep up with technology. It's evolving that fast. And I knew some people in some real big retail box stores that are only in my geographic location, and they used to sell computers and cameras and one day I walked in there and I was like, where's all your computers and cameras? And like, we just can't keep up with it. We'll get this model and not even 30 days later, something faster and better. And we're losing money. I mean, my first computer was a 300 megahertz IBM computer with a flatbed scanner. It cost me $2,800 and I had to finance it back in the early 90s.
Oh, yeah. The flatbed scanner. Those flatbed scanners picked up good, though.
So, you know, and now you can go to Walmart or any retail box store and get a Chromebook for less than $300. Look at our cell phones. My first cell phones look like you can call an airstrike in with that bag I carried.
Yeah, I remember, what was it called? Roaming. I used to roam.
Oh, my God. That would eat me alive. Yeah, we used to ride around town, act like we were talking on the cell phone. Just to impress the ladies. Because it was like $2-something a minute or something really crazy. The roaming was higher than that.
I never understood the roaming.
You know, then they got into the free nights and weekends, and you know, it started at this time and that time. It kept getting earlier. Yeah. You know. So I mean, hell, I had Pong growing up, and I was a kid of the neighborhood then. Remember that little black and white game with 2 paddles and the ball that just bounces around on the screen?
Yeah, that was about 10 years before me.
Oh, okay. I'm only 48, so
I came along in 83.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean I was the hottest kid in the neighborhood over that game.
I played it, and my grandparents had my dad's old one.
So
I ran through the Atari, but I started with on the NES.
Yeah. My brother and them, my dad, they got into Nintendos. I didn't. I didn't get into gaming until probably 10 years ago. Then I got these group of kids that worked at the place I worked, got me in the Battlefield, and I was like, oh my gosh. You know, the graphics, flying planes, driving tanks, helicopters. So, and stop and think today, they're using that in the military to train people with on the drones. So,
yeah, now all the equipment's got an Xbox controller integrated into it.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it does that I've seen.
Yeah. The younger generation, that's what they know.
Couldn't imagine having to use a joystick anymore. Like, what is that? Star Fox.
Yep.
What is happening?
There'll be a day when we have fighter planes with no pilots. It's all going to be remote control. It will be. We already got the UAVs.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's pretty much what those are.
You know, but I'm talking the stealth fighters, the U-2 bombers, all that's going to be, you know, humanless.
I look for the day when we have the robot overlords managing our money for us. The AI, that's coming.
Let me tell you something. When the debit cards and credit cards first came out in the 80s, man, people were freaking out. Revelations were being marked by the beast. You know, we're spending money.
They put the first self-checkouts in. Everybody said that. So it's a mark of the beast. I'm like, how in the hell? It's mark of the beast. You checking your own groceries out, Helen.
Yeah. Well, look at Walmart now. Look at how many stations they put in there where you check yourself out. You know, if I want to check myself out, I want a discount.
And then they've been taking it to they review all the tapes after inventory, and they can go back and see if you stole stuff, and then they prosecute people, which I think is horse shit. You're the one that put that stuff in there. That's just the loss has got to be baked in.
Are there more Sasquatch photos with the use of drones? They have become more popular since the drones. I have seen drones with FLIR attached to it. So yes, they are capturing things on it that they would not capture with boots on the ground. But that brings me up to a theory. How can you follow footprints into the middle of a field with snow and then the footprints just stop? Portal. What happened to
Portal, Bigfoot? Baby? Floated off. Turned into an orb.
No, you never know. Oh, you're welcome anytime. But I mean, it's true. You know, I'll ask you this question. It's not a trick question. Somebody asked me this question and I failed it. What colors are polar bears?
Their skin or their hair?
No, I'm saying what color.
Well, they're supposed to be clear or black. Isn't their hair clear and their skin's black?
That is correct. So their hair actually reflects off the environment to make them look white.
And that being said, I've been to the zoo a bunch of times and they're not clear. They don't reflect off the Birmingham skyline. At the zoo off of Mountain Brook Drive. But I can see what they mean by that. They look more dirty than anything, like an old cow.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You know, and I had a person on the podcast that theorizes that Bigfoot has the same hair. But, you know, not my argument, but I debated with him about why is all the hair that we find on barbed wire fences and stuff they attach to trees that catches the hair, they're always black, brown, orangish color, you know. Then you talk about eDNA, which is something new in the past couple of years, where they can test any river, stream, lake, bed, water, pond, whatever lives there, whatever walks through there, whatever urinates in there, they can tell each and every species. And each and every time they come back, it's 98% human, 2% unknown DNA. There's your evidence. If you can't match it, it's it. And now the eDNA, you can take, you know, the soul out of the footprints and draw DNA from that. And I forgot who it was. Was it you, Bo? Or if you're still on here, talking about they can get eDNA from air. It's like, whoa. Where's all this technology coming from? What do you think about it?
Find missing people before you know it.
Yeah. Well, I talked to well, he's not retired. He's still in law enforcement. And his daughter wants to, after high school graduation, wants to hike the Appalachian Trail from one end to another. And they have gotten into some heated arguments about it. He doesn't want her to do it, especially by herself. So
I say go for it.
My luck, I'll be the one that ends up missing.
There's a lot of through hikers. They're always dressed funny though, because they look like they've been literally hiking 2,000 miles.
Well, I'm not saying they don't, but so much unexplainable out there. I don't get it.
Oh yeah, I mean it's possible. There's probably a lot of criminals on the lam in the Appalachian Trail too. Like
well, you talk to Jim Blanton and you talk to other Appalachian people. They got the oh heck, I had it right there on the tip of my tongue. What is it called? Jim, are you still on here? The Feral Man. That's it.
Oh yeah, from the Smokies.
You know, and the best way I can describe what those people look like is everybody's have seen Wrong Turn or The Hills Have Eyes. That's how deformed they are. You know, are they human? Are they mixed? Are they just creatures? Or, you know, I mean, who knows?
Probably extremely inbred.
Could be.
If it comes to Appalachians, I'm pretty sure that's if they live off in them hoods, hills and hollers. Same family for generations.
You know, I mean, that's become a popular topic. People are seeing more and more of those people. And they could be cannibalism, you know, and then you talk to certain agencies and law enforcement and, well, we predict there's so many serial killers that roam those mountains and so forth. And, you know, it's like the Kentucky State Police, you know, some of the new recruits that come out, the first thing go to is Harlan County or somewhere down by the coal mines.
Had a crazy lady that used to work with me. She said she was from Harlan. I'm like, that explains a lot.
Yep. I don't know, man. I've been told when I was down there before. I'll never forget when we was getting recertified and our certification I'm not allowed to talk about, but they told us that be careful where we go because there's coal mines that are so deep they'll never find our bodies.
I believe it.
Boy, let me tell you something. Me and John, we slept with all of our guns on the bed, everything that night. We didn't know what to expect.
Were you over in
deer
Harlan?
hunting season, huh?
Were you over in Harlan?
I'm not too far from there. I'm in Lexington.
I mean, when you did that,
it was close by there, yeah.
Yeah, I know where you're at.
And
been up there a couple times.
When we were down there, it was deer season, man. It sounded like World War III. People shooting from that ridge, people shooting that ridge, that holler, that ridge. It was like nonstop. It's like, damn.
People listen to Daryl Scott all the time. Daryl Scott and Tyler Childers.
Witness up close 25 feet away, clear view of a basketball-sized blue orb, then Sasquatch morph out of the blue orb. And see, I've actually heard that. And I don't know what to believe.
I'm gonna have to get Scarborough there on my podcast to talk about that. I saw where she commented on the video, or he. I don't know where I got he.
You know, I've heard that, you know, they see Sasquatch before or after UFOs, before or after orbs.
Wasn't there a big story up north in Massachusetts or something long time ago where Sasquatch were coming out of UFOs and the farmer saw it? What are they in? Virginia? Yeah. It was up kind of up north a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. That was years ago.
Yeah, it was like in the 70s. It's called something. But he said he saw a bunch of Bigfoot and a UFO at the same time.
I mean, who knows? Chewbacca was on Star Wars.
Yeah. He was good at chess.
So
What's this?
I don't know, man. It just makes you wonder about things and what directions you can and cannot go. What rules can be broken? Because I always tell people scientific, you might as well throw it out the window. So that's just my opinion.
Hell, I interviewed a guy who texted somebody coordinates to a Sasquatch teepee when he got there. An airplane was circling.
That would freak me out.
Like, how did that? I told him that's the scariest thing you've told me, and you've told me a lot of stuff.
That would freak me out.
I wouldn't even told me that. That's worse than any cryptid in the world. Is it being surveilled that closely and that instantaneous? And they checked it was a Cessna airplane. They checked the flight records. It was from a rented airplane that just did that and flew back, and nobody knew who rented it. And the only thing he done was text somebody the coordinates of the teepee.
Isn't that wild?
That's in Minnesota. That's up where I was gonna go to sit in the tree stand. It's 400 million miles away, so I don't know when that's going to happen, but maybe one day. They're not going anywhere.
No, to my knowledge, we're seeing more and more of them. I don't know if
it's getting a lot worse. It's like the veil's opening or something.
Yeah, if it's us encroaching on their land and building shopping malls and subdivisions, and
I say worse. I think it's pretty cool.
So, but I talked to a guy out of Indiana that he was at a guy's place in Louisville, and it's not too far from the train trestle where the Goat Man is located. And one of the neighbors like, I swear I've been down. There was a Goat Man down there, 2 or 3 nights ago. And the guy said, take me. And he took him. And I'll be damned if he didn't get plaster cast. Now that was spooky. He even showed him on air.
Was it like
he
a foot?
Got him.
Or like a hoof.
Yeah. I mean, it was spooky. And he took him in Indiana, it's called DNR. In Kentucky, it's called Fish and Wildlife. Every state's different. But he took it to both states, and they were just appalled by it. And some of them try to write it off as a deer print. I mean, you're talking something, I can't get into the camera. Something that big and something.
So it was a hoof?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nah, it wasn't a deer hoof. It wasn't a cow hoof.
It's bigger than that.
This thing was shaped. And he's got it. He's got proof. So
cow hooves only get so big.
I mean, what can you say? Could it have been a fake? Who knows? But why would somebody come forward and said, I saw the Goat Man, and he didn't believe him? He said, well, take me to it where you saw him last, and I'll be damned they did. And he come up with tracks. There's been a lot of stories from that train trestle here in Louisville that people's committed suicide and done other stuff off of it and saw things, and I don't know. It's just unexplainable.
Every time I hear Goat Man, I think Bunny Man.
You do?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Bunny Man. Well, it's the same thing. There was the Bunny Man Bridge in Virginia.
Oh, was there?
There was a killer that killed somebody in a bridge dressed like a bunny. I get them confused.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that wasn't funny is when I was on the force, people were wearing the clown outfits and going around town scaring people, carrying axes and stuff.
I remember that.
Let me tell you something. There's been quite a few calls that we responded to in certain areas that thank God they wasn't there, because if they would have been, it would have been a different story.
So I wonder one didn't get shot back then.
I don't know.
There's only so much of that people's going to take.
I don't know if it started out on YouTube where they would prank people being killer clowns. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
and everybody thought it was real.
Clowns all over the place.
Yeah. And then, what was it, a couple of years ago, Momo, all the kids were freaking out over.
That scared my kids.
Yeah, I knew a kid that was scared to death, man. You mentioned that name, he went berserk.
Of course, I use it to scare my kids.
Unbelievable.
Woo.
Yeah, I mean, just unbelievable. But, behind every folklore, behind every legend, I always say there's some truth to it somehow, tied to it.
Like every joke is a element of truth.
Yeah, you can say that.
Yep. Constructive criticism.
Yeah, it is.
What time is it? I maybe have to get back into my in-laws' house here in a minute.
Oh, Lordy.
Yeah, we're house sitting.
You know what?
I wasn't even paying attention. I'm like, oh, shit.
I had no idea what time it was.
Oh, yeah. I've had a good time. That's why I was looking at it.
I got to have you back. But, ladies and gentlemen, it just goes to show critical thinking, where and how far you go. And look at Bobby down there, BobbyDizzle.com. Give him some love. Go out and say hi. Watch his podcasts and shows.
No merch.
Let him know if you care for him. We're all brothers and sisters out in this field. We help out each other. I'm not a hoarder. I don't care if you advertise on my podcast. Don't bother me at all. That's what we're here for.
That's why I started changing it to my website. I'm like, wait a minute, I can just put that there. Shameless.
But no, it's been a great time. I love having you as a guest. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I really do. So, great show tonight with Grizzly and Bobby Dizzle. That's right. Absolutely. I totally agree. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to be on my show, all you have to do is email me at grizzlytheparanormal@gmail.com. That's grizzlytheparanormal@gmail.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it's at that time of night when we must say goodbye, everybody. Watch what goes bump in the night. Don't forget to look behind your backs either. Take care, everybody.